I'm not going to ask them all, but I'm going to ask him some of these, and I want to look at week 1 of the NFL. We bring our friend in, Philly Godfather. Now, how you doing, brother?
Hey, man, Big Sil's in the house.
Hey, man, I hear you got a new show popping up here, man.
Yeah, the sports betting show is on Sirius XM, channel 159, Sports Grid, JAKIB Sports. That's going to be on all our Twitter accounts as well. It's blowing up.
Can't wait to see that, man. Can't wait to see that. All right, I'm going to ask you a few questions before we get into week 1 here. And I asked this question. These are, last year we had completely different observations and concerns or what have you going into the season for the Eagles. As hurts the guy, all these new faces they brought in. How are they all going to work? Who's Hassan Reddick? All that. Obviously a brand new, different conversation today. So I'm going to throw this at you here. I'm not going to ask all these questions, but I'll throw this. Do you believe that Marcus Mariota will help or hurt the Eagles in 2023?
Hopefully, he's not in the position to help us. Let me put it that way. But if he is, I think we're in trouble as a team.
If he sees the field, the Eagles are in trouble, in your opinion.
Yeah.
Finished below Washington?
You know what? I was down on that team, but the way they're running their offense in preseason and the pace they're running it at, they're looking real fluid. They're looking real cohesive. Now, it was the preseason, but with that pass rush, I mean, they beat us last year, and they had a horrible season. So if their offense can put some points up on the board, they're going to hang around some of these games this season.
How funny is that when you say that, too? They had a horrible year, and they were 8-1.
Yep.
Just if they're a little better, you're talking maybe 10-7.
And we always talk about the turnover differential. The difference between a team that's 7-10 and 10-7 is some fumbles, some interceptions, some bad luck. That's how close it is when you're 7-10 or 10-7.
Absolutely. I tell people that's a great comment because I tell people this: the difference between a 7-10 team and a 10-7 team is probably 25 plays a year.
Yep.
For each team that separates those two. So to me, that's exactly correct here. All right, let me throw this at you. Will Devontae Smith be the superstar and a top 5 wide receiver by the end of the season?
I mean, there's so many great wide receivers in the league, and the NFC as well. But he can definitely get there. The way this team is loaded, it's just, there's so many weapons on this team. Can he amass the amount of yardage to be considered in the top 5 or top 7 across the league, where some other teams, some of the wide receivers are top heavy. It's tilted where you got a real great receiver, then all the other weapons on the team falls off, and they really got to depend on that guy. Where the case with the Eagles is you got Goddard, you got Brown, you got Smith. I mean, there's so many weapons on this team. But yeah, I think he's going to have a big season. I think he's going to have a big year this year.
Is this the swan song for Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is it. I think this is the going away party. This is the season. For their sake, I hope the Eagles go deep in the playoffs. I hope they win the Super Bowl. For my pocket's sake, you know who I'm on. I'm on the Cowboys.
Oh, man. All right.
I'm pretty fairly it's about the money. The Eagles don't pay my bills, man. You know that, Phil.
I got you, man. How about this? If Hassan Reddick puts together another 12-plus sack season, what will that mean for his future in Philly and how the Eagles look at him? He'll be like 30 years old, I think. Do you give this guy $20 million or do you not give him $20 million? How do you address Hassan Reddick? He's underpaid now if you're looking at market value for edge rushers. I mean, he's around $15 million, if you could say that's underpaid in market value, but it is. So how would they look at his future if he delivers another double-digit sack season?
I don't want to call the 2 previous guys we talked about dinosaurs, but with those guys on the way out, I think you got to give them the money. I mean, I think you got no choice, especially if he puts up another monster season. I mean, who else are you going to give the money to if it's not him?
All right, let me say this to you. If you had to put money on who's going to emerge as a star in the safety position for the Eagles, Reed Blankenship, Terrell Edmonds could be the next James Bradbury on what and how they found him. I got it. Not the same. Bradbury was at least he was an all-pro when he was in New York. Or Sidney Brown. Who emerges out of that group?
You got a quarter on you? I want to flip a quarter. I want to flip a coin. You can pick either one.
Wait, do you think this is not a very talented group?
Nah, not very talented at all. I think that's the biggest issue on the defensive side of the ball. I'm not sold on Bradbury either, but I think they're going to have some issues. There's going to be a big hole in that defense. The line is strong. Jalen Carter's a monster, but he's on probation. He's getting sued for millions of dollars. He's a kid, and if things start to affect him up top, maybe it'll show on the field. So, I don't think they're strong in the middle of that field.
All right, we're going to do this like next week, get more intel from you and more into it, more detail. But I like every Friday looking at the upcoming games in week 1 here. Why do I like Detroit in this game versus Kansas City on Thursday night?
Well, the game opened up on that key number of 7, and the sharp money agrees with you. It's hard. It takes a lot of money to move the line off of 7 and off of 3 because they're such key numbers. And right now, I've seen it as low as 6. So there's some sharp action on Detroit at +7, and they're agreeing with you. I mean, Detroit looks to be the side here. Now, depending on who's hurt, who's not hurt going into that first game, as the injury reports come out, that could sway people's decisions. But as of right now, the Detroit line's at +7. If you can find a 7, I don't think there's any left. I think that's the right side.
Man, I would be on that too. All right, so the Sunday games. Carolina, Atlanta, 2 teams that are seemingly trending up. More so, are you more sold on Carolina or are you more sold on Atlanta?
No, I actually went under 7.5 wins for the Panthers. No rookie quarterback, I don't think has ever won more than 7 games on the season, or it's been a long time since it's happened. So I don't expect them to win more than 6 or 7 games. Atlanta, I'm kind of bullish on. I went over 8.5 wins. If the Saints miss a beat, now the Saints are the monster in that division, and they got a really easy schedule. They finally got a half-decent quarterback. They got a great defense, and they got a defensive-minded coach. But I'm bullish on Atlanta, and I'm not on the Panthers.
Why do I like the Browns over Cincinnati in week 1?
Well, we talked to Pro Football. He's an injury doctor. He gives that great information.
Our family knows Dr. Chow very well. We love him.
Yeah, we had him on the show last night. And, Burrow's not 100%. Let's be honest, he's not going to be as mobile. He's going to be sitting in the pocket more. Now, he gets rid of the ball so fast. And as we've seen in previous years, he's had some of the worst offensive lines in football, and he still took them there. But this Browns team is stacked. If 3 is a key number. If you can get +3 on the Browns, I think it's the right side. I think they lost some players on the defensive side, Cincinnati, that's going to affect them this season. And there's going to be more weight put on the shoulders of Joe Burrow. He's going to be like Atlas carrying that globe on his back.
By the way, Dr. David Chow was also the former team doctor for the San Diego Chargers, so he's got a great background there too. And I love him, and a lot of people that worked with him in San Diego really think highly of him. Jacksonville at Indianapolis. Is this the breakout party that we think everything's going to be for Trevor Lawrence, and this is kind of like the start of it? And by the way, give me your sense of Anthony Richardson and how you see him, because there's so much publicity out there on him. But I'll say this: 51% completion percentage in the Southeastern Conference, and the Gators suck. I don't get it.
Well, he's a big, strong kid. Physical ability, looks like he's got what you need to play in the NFL. Now, processing the information, making the reads, we know how important that is as a quarterback. I think there's going to be a huge learning process for him. I think it's going to take time for him to get acclimated to the NFL and how fast it is. You know how fast the NFL is. And I don't expect much from him early in the season, maybe later on in the season, but by then it might be too late. They're going to have a bad record. But, yeah, I don't expect much from Anthony Richardson.
You're now being called the Dallas Godfather.
Yeah. It's all right. As long as I get those Benjamins in my pocket, you can call me the Benjamin Godfather.
All right. Tampa Bay versus the Minnesota Vikings. Give me your take on that game.
I mean, Tampa Bay can hang around. They still got a solid defense.
Right?
Yeah, and anytime you got a solid defense, you can hang around. If they could slow the game down, limit the possessions, run the ball, stay within that 2 to 3 minute range in time of possession in the game. You're getting some points. Minnesota's pretty good though, but last year they got a little lucky. I mean, their turnover differential was crazy. Their point differential didn't reflect what their record should actually be. If I had to pick a side, man, I would take Minnesota just because I think in the fourth quarter they got enough weapons on that offensive side to pull away and cover the spread.
Can Tennessee and Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins keep that game close in New Orleans?
I mean, they're going to try, but the Saints are pretty good this year.
Yeah,
the more and the more I watch them play, and I think they got a chip on their shoulder, and I don't think so. I think the Saints are the side.
I think this is a very intriguing game here in Week 1. The Niners versus the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and I'm like, you have the quarterback situation the way it is. We'll see. I mean, is Purdy back? I mean, Pittsburgh's so well coached. How do you look at that game?
I'm taking the 3 on Pittsburgh, and I'm taking them on the line. I think they win the game outright.
Yeah, I think the Steelers win this game against the Niners.
Yeah, they're going to have a great chance. They're going to be in this game to the end, and if ball bounces their way, they're going to have a great shot to win this game outright.
Make sure you do me a favor and you watch Tough Guy Gannon on his Twitter page, because he's like going like this. He's walking around like this guy's like Hulk Hogan, and he's walking around the team room going, "Did you get on the bus today? Did you get on the bus today?" Everyone's like this.
Yeah, they doing these.
Yeah. This guy's doing Arnold, right? He's giving you the Arnold pose, man. He's more Franco Columbo though, under Arnold's armpit.
Franco was small, man. Franco was tiny, but he was strong. He was
hey,
big.
no. He was a Mr. Olympia too. I get it. I'm with you there. But I mean, this guy. Every time Franco looked next to him, he looked like he was one of those little lawn jockeys. And you're sitting there and you're going like, "Hey, what is that, man?" Oh my God! My grandfather had this white like lawn jockey in the front yard, painted white. Had a hat on it.
I remember that.
Remember those things, right? They were like the lantern on it, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
All right. Here's your Arizona, Washington. I'm becoming more bullish on Washington. I think Washington could potentially win 10 ball games.
I mean, they could. I actually put Washington in the teaser. They're part of my teaser combinations. I got Washington. I took it off that key number and brought it down to -1. So all they got to do is win by 1. I took the Packers from 2 all the way up to +8. And I also have the Dolphins. Instead of, taking 3 with the teaser, I took them all the way up to +9. So I mixed and matched those 3 teams in different 2-team teaser combinations.
Baltimore, Houston, you think good things this year from the Ravens?
Yeah. Lamar's – and then the Texans have some issues on their offensive line. Guys are really hurt. So anything under 10, if you can find it, I mean, I would lay it with Baltimore.
How about Green Bay, Chicago? Jordan, you know what? I'll tell you this too. Godfather, I'll say this to you about Jordan Love. I'm not as down on him. I don't think he's horrible like, Trey Lance. But I think this guy here, I mean, right?
We wanted to play against the Eagles last year, and he didn't look like he got nervous. I mean, he moved the ball down the field. They scored on us in the playoffs. In the preseason, I'm sorry. He looked half decent. And you're playing the Bears. I mean, let's be honest. How good are the Bears this season? I think the team that has the ball last is going to win that game. Like I said, I put them in teasers. This way I'm covered through the number 3 and the number 7. I'm getting a great price at +8. But the team that has the ball last is probably going to win that game. And don't be shocked if the Packers contend for that division title with the Detroit Lions this
year. Interesting. More so than the Vikings?
Yeah, I think so. I think they still got a good defense. I see the Vikings regressing a little bit. It's the Lions division to win. I mean, their offense is unreal. Their defense couldn't stop a nosebleed last year. I think they got a little better. And they played for Dan Campbell. It's their division to win, but the Packers are going to be close.
Are you sold that Denver's going to have a turnaround? They start out with the Raiders. Are you in the camp that you go like this? Hey, that was just, an aberration last year for Russell Wilson. They hire now Sean Payton. They drop him in the room. There's some better. There's adults now in Denver. Do you look at them? Or are you high on them like a lot of people are high on them? Or do you think the people with the money aren't?
I mean, I think they're going to be okay. And they were one of the most injured teams last year in the NFL. And we know when that happens, I don't care what the talent is on the team. If you're missing some key guys, you just can't perform well as a team. Payne's a great coach. If anybody can turn him around, I think he can. I think it's going to take longer than a year to do so. But they're going to be in a lot of games this year. They got an easier schedule than most teams. They're going to hang around.
So did you hear the new news? The Eagles are being spied on by the Patriots.
I mean,
here, let me tell you how.
The Patriots have always spied on everyone, haven't they? It's been going on for years.
Here it is. Ready? So today they signed Jalen Reagor to the practice squad, and reports are he has a playbook and some of the game plan books from like when he was here in 2021. And he's got some of those playbooks. Offense really hasn't changed that much. Plus, he was here a year ago during training camp. And prior to that, during the OTAs and such. Bill Belichick, I can't think he was signed today prior to going into week one because of his spectacular skill set. I mean, the Patriots, this is so Bill Belichick.
Yeah, it's a smart move. A little espionage.
I love the gamesmanship here.
Yeah, but you know what? I'd be more worried about the fact that everyone is so high on this Eagles team, and they're supposed to be loaded. They're supposed to win the NFC East, and they got the lowest odds.
Whoa! You say supposed to be? Why do you go there? What's supposed to be?
Well, I'm going to let you know. And they're supposed to, they got the lowest odds to win the Super Bowl out of any team in the NFC. But if they're supposed to be this great, then why is the line on the first game of the season that went up to 6 down to 3.5 now? It's moving. You sharp money taking the Patriots like they got tomorrow, like they got the next day's newspaper. So, and don't be shocked if this line closes -3, and it's Tom Brady night. And I know all that, but that's a huge move in the NFL. If there's no major injuries, a 3-point move is massive. So there's some real sharp money on the Patriots at +6, +5.5, +5, +4.5, +4, and on the money line for week one. And that would worry me more than Reagor or anything else you're hearing. The sharp money moves the market. They're putting millions of dollars behind their opinion. It's not like, some guys go on TV and think the Eagles are great or the Patriots. These guys are putting big money. That would worry me more than anything going into this season.
So you really think now people are looking at this and saying, okay, well, they've got the kryptonite against the Patriots. They got a top-flight, top 10 defense. They are, again, all you have to do is get a couple stops, keep them on the field. You run the football against that suspect defense they have, especially in the run game, which has been that way for 2 years.
Well, they ran the ball down the Eagles' throats in the Detroit game, in the Commanders game last year. You can run on this team. And if that's what Belichick's game plan is, I think he's going to have a lot of success.
Wow. Money's going down now to 3.5 it is for the game opener?
I remember coming on early with you, and the line was 5.5, 6, and I was telling you I hope it goes to 7, and that would have been one of my biggest bets of the year, taking the Patriots at +7. Now it's down to 3.5, and it's probably going to close 3. That's a huge move.
If that thing gets under 3, you'd be stunned.
I'd be stunned. Yeah, I mean, 3 said it's going to take a lot of money to move off that number 3. We're talking big paper. I mean, giant paper. But if you see that happens, that means there's some big problems for this Eagles team, not just in the first week of the season, but for the entire season as well.
Miami and the Chargers, how do you look at both those teams?
Man, they're both so good. My crew has a future on Miami at 40-1 to get to the Super Bowl. We nibbled on that team. I got futures on Justin Herbert at 10-1 to be the MVP with Dak Prescott at 20-1. I think he's going to have a big season. That team's loaded. The problem is the Chargers coach and their defense. They've given up the most amount of points over the last 3 years in NFL history. Now, they've also scored the most points, I think, in the last 3 years in NFL history. Their coach worries me a little bit. I think the coach on Miami's better. The wide receivers on both teams are unreal. I mean, how do you cover those guys? Tua, if he can stay healthy, before he got hurt, that team was 8-2 or 8-3 last season. You're getting 3 points on Miami. That's one of the teams I put in my teaser combinations to bump it up to 9 because I think again, this is one of those games. The last team that has the ball is probably going to win the game.
Why do I like to see? I tell you what, John Schneider and Pete Carroll have done a great job. Get this. How are you better moving off a Hall of Fame quarterback? You're better. I mean, and they address the defensive needs, and he's a defensive-minded coach. They've got 1,000-yard back, 2,000-yard wideouts. I know Gino's got to do it again. They open with the Rams. Nobody's really looking at the Rams on being anybody this year. I got to tell you, man, I think Seattle, they've got the coaching staff. They've got the personnel. They're not a sleeper, but I could see them, man, being a surprise in the NFC title game.
Well, when it comes to sports betting, it's all about the price. And when you're getting plus 300, plus 350, plus 450 on Seattle to win the West, I mean, it's real appetizing. And again, 49ers, who's their quarterback? How healthy are the quarterbacks? I mean, who's, you know, and as great as Shanahan is, and it's, you know, I mean, Pete Carroll's just, he's won Super Bowls, you know, so, and he's revived Gino's career. And it's just, they're one of those teams that, you know, as long as the ball bounces their way, they're going to be right there at the end of contend for the West, and they got a great chance of winning that division.
You're being called the Dallas Godfather, and it's Cowboys and Giants, and Dak Prescott Sunday night versus Dimes Jones. I mean, division rival, division game. How big is that game, do you think, for the Cowboys and Dak?
I mean, it's really big, but I think they're going to kill that Giants team. I mean, I laid 2.5 early in the summer. I laid the money line minus 150.
I'm with you.
One of my biggest bets.
I think they're fool's gold.
I mean, they got really lucky last year. I mean, Dable's a great coach, and he performed his magic. But this season, you know, the schedule's a lot harder, and Dallas got a lot better. And I think Dallas knows how good they are. And I think they're going to flex the first game of the season. And they're going to show everyone all the striations in their muscles and their double bicep peak, and they're just going to go out on that field, and they're just going to put on a show, man.
All right, Monday night, the Pope of Greenwich Village, Aaron Rodgers versus the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen, man. I tell you what, who has more pressure going into that game? You know, last year he was 13-3, Allen, and everyone's like, you know, he kind of had a couple steps back. I'm like, this guy had a fumble away from having home field advantage. He didn't suck last year. He just lost an important game last year, and I get it. And then here's Rodgers rolling in, and Rodgers rolls in with this team that people are hyping up as Super Bowl contenders. Tell me what you see these two teams.
And what people aren't talking about is Josh Allen was a little hurt. He had the elbow problem, and he had some, you know, personal issues he was going through last year with the relationship. And you talk about pressure. Well, there was a lot of pressure for Aaron Rodgers going into this game, but Miller's not playing. So that releases some of that pressure on Aaron Rodgers right there. I think it's big. You saw the difference in the Bills last year when they were missing some key guys on their defensive line. And this is a game that, you know, Aaron Rodgers, they could win this game outright. Are they going to win it? I don't know. It takes a while for, you know, even the great Aaron Rodgers is going to take a minute to get acclimated to this new system, to this new team. But there's a shot they can win this game outright.
He loses that game, he'll have to go smoke some dope in that teepee. Hey, he'll have to go in that teepee and have to smoke some of them mushrooms and such. I don't know, man. This guy, he's got a lot of pressure on him. Brother, again, throw the stuff where people can find you on your Twitter page and also the new shows that are coming out once again.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Philly Godfather. You can stop by the phillygodfather.com, which is my website. We got the sports betting show on Sirius XM channel 159, Sports Grid Network, JAKIB Sports, and the book's coming out first quarter of 2024. So look out for that, American Dream. And then we're going to be working on the movie, and you're definitely going to be in it. And if it comes to fruition, you're coming. You're coming with us.
You got it, man. You got it, brother. I appreciate it, man. I love our segment each day. We'll see you next Friday at 5:30 Eastern. Brother, have a great weekend. I appreciate you doing this.
You too. God bless.
You got it, man. That's Philly Godfather. Some of you out there calling him Dallas Godfather. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.